Okay. Okay, we're good to go. Jazakallah, Bismillah.
In the name of Allah, may peace and salutations and blessings be upon the Prophet Muhammad and upon his family and companions. To proceed, first we apologize for the slight late running of tonight's episode, and that's due to some technical difficulties. But we are very, very pleased to be with you tonight in a continuation of our series of safeguarding ourselves from the hellfire. And under that, or as a special topic for today, the topic is preparation for Ramadan. And as we are accustomed to and we're treated to on a weekly basis, we are happy to have our respected Sheikh Muhammad ibn Abdullah al-Maliki with us, who will be presenting our talk. And we ask Allah the Most High that he opens up for our Sheikh so that we can all benefit from him. فَلْيَتَفَضَّلُوا شَيْخَنَا مَشْكُورًا.
الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام الأتمان الأكملان على محمد رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن استنى بسنته واهتدى بهديه إلى يوم الدين. أما بعد، حياكم الله أيها الإخوة والأخوات إلى هذا اللقاء المتواصل من لقاءات أسباب النجاة. ونحن اليوم مع بداية حلقات خاصة لمناسبة خاصة هي قربنا من شهر رمضان. نسأل الله عز وجل أن يبلغنا وإياكم رمضان ويتسلمه منا ويسلمنا له في صحة وسلامة ويمكننا من الصيام والقيام. نعم.
Indeed, all praises are due to Allah, and may the most complete and perfect of salutations be upon the Prophet Muhammad and upon his family and those who and his wives and those who follow them until the day of resurrection. So welcome, my brothers and sisters, our listeners, to this recurring meeting that we have in our meetings relating to safeguarding against the fire. And today we have a special topic for a special reason, for a special occasion that is about to happen. And we ask Allah the Most High to enable us to reach Ramadan in a state in which we are in good and complete health, so that we can fast and that we can stand in prayer to Him the Most High.
من ما يذكر في الحديث عن قرب رمضان والحديث عن الصيام، تلك العبادة العظيمة التي بها تزكو النفوس وتطهر القلوب وتنقل الأبدان عن ما علق بها من أدران. فهذه العبادة عبادة فرضت على جميع الأمم، كما قال الله عز وجل في سورة البقرة: قال يا أيها الذين آمنوا كتب عليكم الصيام كما كتب على الذين من قبلكم لعلكم تتقون، أي تحصل لكم به التقوى. نعم.
And when we talk about the month of Ramadan, a necessity is that we talk about fasting due to the fasting that occurs within this month. And fasting is a great form of worship that we draw near, through which we draw nearness and closeness to Allah the Most High. And it's a form of worship that cleanses the hearts and purifies the souls from any dirt and any impurities that they may have. And this act of worship, the act of worship of fasting, it's something that was made obligatory upon the previous nations, as Allah the Most High mentioned in Surah Al-Baqarah, the 2nd chapter of the Quran. O you who believe, fasting has been prescribed upon you as it was prescribed upon those who came before you, so that you may achieve a sense of God consciousness, taqwa. And Allah, He states in this verse that the reason behind fasting is, or the wisdom behind fasting is that we achieve God consciousness.
وقد ذكر الله عز وجل الصيام في القرآن في مواضع عدة، منها ما ذكره عن أم عيسى مريم عليها وعلى ابنها السلام. قال تعالى في سورة مريم في الآية 26: فكلي واشربي وقري عينا فإما ترين من البشر أحدا فقولي إني نذرت للرحمن صوما ولن أكلم اليوم إنسيا.
And fasting is something that has been mentioned by Allah the Most High in the Quran. And one such instance of this is in the chapter of the Quran, the chapter about Mary, which is chapter number 19 of the Quran, in the Quran. And it's verse شيخنا أي آية؟
26.
نعم. And it's in verse number 26 of Surah Maryam, where Allah the Most High says to her, so eat and drink and be contented. And if you see if you see any human beings, say to them, indeed, I have vowed to the most merciful, meaning Allah, I have vowed abstention, so I will not speak to any man. So here, it's in translating it, when it's translated as I have vowed to abstain to the most merciful, this is a kind of linguistic meaning of abstain, and the verb that's used here in the Arabic language is fasting. Indeed, I have vowed to fast for Ar-Rahman, I have vowed to fast for the most merciful. شيخنا فقط أشرت إلى أن هذا لغة يعني بمعنى الصيام الإمساك.
نعم، والإمساك يعني عموما سواء كان عن الأكل والشرب أو عن الكلام، وهي قصدت هنا الإمساك عن الكلام. نعم، تفضل.
So in the Arabic language, when we talk about fasting, the Sawm, it means in a general matter to abstain from something. And it isn't particular to eating and drinking. So in the context of this verse that we have seen in Surah Maryam, ayah number 26, verse number 26, when Maryam, may Allah be pleased with her, when she says that she has vowed to fast for Ar-Rahman, for the most merciful Allah, what she means here is that she will not speak to any human being. نعم شيخنا.
نعم. وقد ورد ذكر الصيام في أحاديث النبي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم كثيرا، ومنها ما ورد ذكره مرتبطا بأيام معينة أو أشهر، ومنها ما ذكر مجملا. ومن هذا المجمل قوله صلى الله عليه وسلم في الحديث المتفق على صحته عن أبي هريرة رضي الله تعالى عنه أن الرسول صلى الله عليه وسلم قال قال الله عز وجل كل عمل ابن آدم له إلا الصيام فإنه لي وأنا أجزي به، والصيام جنة، ومعنى جنة أي وقاية كالدرع، يعني تقيه من النار. وإذا كان يوم صوم أحدكم فلا يرفث، أي لا يجامع امرأته، ولا يصخب، أي لا يرفع صوته في الأسواق وفي يعني إلا إذا كان له ضرورة. فإن سابه أحد أو قاتله فليقل إني امرئ صائم، أي يعلن ويصرح، سواء كان ذلك في رمضان أو في غير رمضان، يصرح بكونه متلبس في هذه العبادة التي تحتم عليه عدم الهبوط إلى هذا المستوى من سوء الخلق الذي يريد أن يجره إليه من سابه أو قاتله، وقد رفعه الصيام عاليا. ثم قال والذي نفس محمد بيده لخلوف فم الصائم، الخلوف هو الرائحة التي يخلفها خلو البطن من الطعام والشراب، لخلوف فم الصائم أطيب عند الله من ريح المسك. ومعلوم أن خلوف فم الصائم بالنسبة للناس غير مستحب، لكن لما كان ذلك طاعة كان عند الله أحب يعني أحب إلى الله وأطيب عند الله من ريح المسك، مع أنه لو نتج هذه الرائحة عن غير الصوم كان مبغوضا، كما جاء في الحديث: من أكل البصل أو الثوم أو الكراثة فلا يقربن مسجدنا، لأنها تنتج رائحة كريهة، وذلك ليس سببه قرب لله وتعبد لله. ولهذا جاء الحث كثيرا على استعمال السواك، قال صلى الله عليه وسلم: مطهرة للفم مرضاة للرب، لأنه يغير الرائحة. ثم قال: للصائم فرحتان يفرحهما، إذا أفطر فرح، يعني فرح بفطره، لأنه كان ممنوعا من الأكل والشرب والجماع، والآن سمح له فيفرح، هذا فرح جبلي. وإذا لقي ربه فرح بصومه، هذا فرح يعني على المكافأة، لأن الصوم يوم القيامة يدافع عن صاحبه حتى يدخله الجنة، وله باب في الجنة خاص بأهله، ويؤجر على ذلك يعني أجرا كثيرا. نعم، أطلت عليك.
بسيطة شيخنا حفظكم الله. And we see that the fasting has been mentioned in the hadith of the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him. In fact, and indeed in many of the ahadith of the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, the Prophet mentioned fasting. And he mentioned this fasting in different ways. He mentioned it as relates to specific, or in a specific sense, as relates to days, the virtues of fasting specific days. And he mentions fasting in an unrestricted general sense, whereby he mentions, for example, the virtues of fasting. And this is one such example that we will look at, i.e. one of the virtues of one of the narrations that deals with the virtues of fasting. And that is what has been reported by Imam al-Bukhari and Muslim. So it's been agreed upon on the authority of Abu Huraira, the companion of the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, that the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, said, indeed, Allah the Most High has said, every act of the son of Adam is for him, i.e. every act of worship that every act of the son of Adam is for the son of Adam's sake, except for fasting, for indeed it is for me. And the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, said that Allah said, and fasting is a shield, because it's something that protects the individual from sins and it elevates the person, as we will see. So when any one of you is observing the fast, they should neither have relations with their wives, nor should they raise their voice in an inappropriate manner, except if they must. And if they are caught, cursed, or if anyone wants to fight them or argue with them, then they should say, indeed, I am fasting. And this is something that the individual should say aloud, and they should say it whether they are fasting during Ramadan or whether they are fasting outside Ramadan. That if they are abused in any way, they say to that individual, I'm fasting. And these are things or etiquettes that the fasting individual takes to, because the fasting, it elevates the status of that individual. So it elevates the status of that individual to the extent whereby they should not partake, or they would not partake in any acts that would demean or make the fast any lower in the sight of Allah the Most High. So it elevates the individual. Then the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, went on to say, by him in whose hand the soul of Muhammad is, i.e. he is swearing by Allah the Most High, the breath of one observing the fasting is sweeter to Allah than the fragrance of musk. And it's known that to people and to the sons and the daughters of Adam, that the smell of the breath of the fasting person is something that is not desirable. But since it's something that comes about as a result of that slave partaking in an act of obedience to Allah the Most High, then in the sight of Allah the Most High, it's better and sweeter than the smell of musk. And we can compare this to the statement of the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, where he said, whosoever eats from this lowly tree, whosoever eats garlic, then let them not come near to our masajid, to our places of worship. And this is because this smell that emanates from the individual, because it's something that has come about not due to obedience to Allah, it's offensive to the angels, and it's an offensive smell. And for this reason, in a general sense, Islam, it encourages people to have good breath, and it encourages them to use the toothstick, the wooden arak toothstick, to clear the siwak, to clear their mouths. And the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, said it's a purification, meaning this toothstick, it's a purification for the mouth, and it's something that pleases the Lord. Going back to the narration, the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, went on to say that the one who fasts experiences two times of joy. Firstly, when they break their fast, and this is through the food that they have, and ultimately the reward at the end of the day. And then second, they are joyful by the virtue of their fast when they meet their Lord, because they will have ample reward for this fasting. And it's known that those who partake in fasting a lot, then they will have a special gate through which they can enter the paradise.
سنتكلم كثيرا في الأيام المقبلة عن الصيام وهذا الأمر العظيم، لكن حيث أننا نودع شهر رجب الذي نحن في آخر أيامه، وسيكون لعل آخر يوم فيه السبت القادم، لذا يجب أن نتكلم فيما بقي من رجب، إذ تعلق به بعض الأعمال من ما يظن العامة أنها من التحضير لرمضان أو الاستعداد لرمضان، وهي ليست كذلك. لذا ينبغي أن نركز على هذا، ثم في الأسبوع المقبل نواصل الحديث عما يكون من الاستعداد لرمضان بالكلام عن الصيام والقيام وسائر أعمال رمضان.
So we will carry on discussing Ramadan, its virtues and the rulings that relate to it in the sittings from next week. But as we are now, we are getting close to Ramadan, and we're bidding farewell to the month of Rajab. And Rajab is the month that we are in now, and we are in the last days of Rajab. And it might be the case that next Saturday, it's the last day of Rajab. And when we talk about this month of Rajab, there are certain rulings or certain acts that we should make clear. We should take the time now to make them clear for the people, because some people think that these actions are preparation for Ramadan, whereas this is not the case. And we will take this for the rest of this lecture. And as I said, we will look at in the following lectures at this time from next week, we'll look at Ramadan in more detail as relates to the rulings and the benefits, etc.
شهر رجب هو أحد الأشهر الحرم التي ذكرها الله عز وجل في سورة التوبة في الآية 36. قال تعالى: إن عدة الشهور عند الله 12 شهرا في كتاب الله يوم خلق السماوات والأرض منها 4 حرم ذلك الدين القيم فلا تظلموا فيهن أنفسكم. الله عز وجل بين ما العمل الذي يكون في هذه الأشهر عموما وفي رجب خصوصا. قال تعالى: فلا تظلموا فيهن أنفسكم. إذن لا عمل خاص بهذه الأشهر الحرم إلا ما جاء ذكره عاما في هذه الآية أو مخصصا في أحاديث سنأتي عليها. فالعمل العام المشترك بين هذه الأشهر وهي 4 كما جاء في الحديث حديث أبي بكر نفيع بن الحارث بن تلدة، سنذكره إن شاء الله بعد الترجمة.
وشيخنا رقم الآية حفظكم الله
36 من سورة التوبة.
36. And Allah the Most High, He explains the virtues of Rajab and the virtues of the 4 holy months in the Quran. And He mentions in the 9th chapter of the Quran, the chapter of repentance, Surah At-Tawbah, in verse number 36. He mentions where he says that which means, indeed, the number of months with Allah is 12 lunar months in the register of Allah from the day He created the heavens and the earth. Of these, 4 are sacred. That is the correct religion, so do not wrong yourselves during them. And this is the thing that we should take note of, that during these 4 months, during these particular holy months, that we should not wrong ourselves during them. So there's more emphasis on not doing so within these 4 months. And there are other virtues as relates to these 4 months, as we will see now, from many narrations of the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him. From them, the hadith or the narration on the authority of Abu Bakr. And we will look at these narrations now.
نعم، في حديث أبي بكر بين النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم هذه ال4 أشهر ما هي، فقال: إن الزمان قد استدار كهيئته يوم خلق الله السماوات والأرض، السنة 12 شهرا، منها 4 حرم، 3 متواليات متتالية وراء بعض، وقال 3 متواليات: ذو القعدة وذو الحجة والمحرم، ورجب مضر، هذا الذي ليس متوالي معهم بعيد عنهم، لأنه الشهر السابع على التقويم الهجري، ورجب مضر الذي بين جمادى وشعبان. والحديث رواه البخاري ومسلم. قوله ورجب مضر هي قبيلة من قبائل العرب تسكن وسط الجزيرة العربية، والسبب في تسمية الشهر برجب مضر، الشهر اسمه رجب، لكن العلة في ربطه بقبيلة مضر هو أن مضر كانت لا تغيره بل توقعه في وقته، بخلاف باقي العرب كانوا إذا أرادوا أن يغيروا على قبيلة أخرى فإنهم، ومعلوم أنه محرم في شهر رجب في الأشهر الحرم محرم الحرب والقتال، فكانوا يقولون إذن هذا الشهر ليس رجب، هذا الشهر نسميه جماد، يأتون في جماد ويقولون جمادى هذا رجب، والذي يلي يكون جمادى. من أجل ماذا؟ من أجل أن يبيحوا لأنفسهم القتال. قال تعالى في سورة التوبة في الآية 37: إنما النسيء زيادة في الكفر يضل به الذين كفروا يحلونه عاما ويحرمونه عاما ليواطئوا عدة ما حرم الله فيحلوا ما حرم الله. نعم، لكن مضر كانت تعظم الشهر ولا تغير. نعم.
So on the authority of Abu Bakr, may Allah be pleased with him, who reported, the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, said, time has completed its cycle and has come to the state of the day when Allah created the heavens and the earth. The year consists of 12 months, of which 4 are holy, or 4 have sanctity. And the meaning of this is that there is no killing that was allowed in them. 3 of these 4 months are consecutive: Dhul Qa'dah, Dhul Hijjah, Dhul Qa'dah, Dhul Hijjah, Muharram, and then there is the month of Rajab, and Rajab is the month of the tribe of Mudar. So Rajab, it doesn't run consecutively to the other months because it is the 7th month in the Islamic calendar. And here the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, he named it the month of Mudar. And the meaning of Mudar is it's a particular tribe from the tribes of the Arabs who lived in the Arabian Peninsula at that time. And the wisdom behind Rajab being named by this month is because this tribe, they used to give this month its right. They used to, for example, they would not lie about this month. It would be the case that certain other tribes, they would fight during Rajab, and they would say, actually, no, this isn't Rajab. They would lie and they say it's a different month, because if they were to say that it was Rajab, they would be admitting that they weren't allowed to fight, yet they were fighting. But by lying, they allowed themselves to carry on fighting and carry on doing that which they wanted to do. And about this, Allah the Most High says in verse number 37 in Surah At-Tawbah, indeed the postponing of the restrictions within the sacred months is an increase in disbelief, by which those who have disbelieved are led further astray. They make it lawful one year and unlawful another year, to correspond to the number made unlawful by Allah. So they are making unlawful, or they're making that which is unlawful lawful to themselves in error. So for this reason, the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, he named this month of Rajab, he named it the month of Mudar, because Mudar, this tribe, they would give this month its right and they would not lie about when it came. And then the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, went on to say, the month of Mudar, and this month comes between Jumada and Sha'ban. So it comes between these two other months in the Islamic calendar. نعم شيخنا.
نعم. ولذلك لما كان رجب بهذه المنزلة جعل الناس له أعمال ليس يصح فيها شيء، كما قال الإمام ابن رجب رحمه الله تعالى، عفوا الإمام ابن حجر رحمه الله تعالى، قال لم يرد في فضل شهر رجب ولا في صيامه ولا في صيام شيء منه معين ولا في قيام ليلة مخصوصة فيه شيء، ما ورد فيه شيء أبدا. نعم.
And due to the fact that Rajab is one of the holy months, there are some people who have made specific actions or specific acts of worship as rituals within this month. And the scholar of Islam, the Hafiz, the one who memorized so many ahadith and so much of the knowledge of Islam, Ibn Hajar, may Allah have mercy upon him, he said that there is nothing that has been related due to or that relates to the virtues of this month. There's been nothing that's been related pointing to the virtues of additional actions in this month, neither from fasting, nor from standing the night in prayer, nor from anything else. So there are no authentic virtues that have been related to be done. So no additional acts of worship that should be done during this month.
وأيضا قال رحمه الله وأما الأحاديث الواردة في فضل رجب أو في فضل صيامه أو صيام شيء منه صريحة فهي على قسمين. الأحاديث الصريحة في ذلك هي على قسمين، إما ضعيفة أو موضوعة. إذا لم يصح.
شيخنا بارك الله فيكم، وهذه الأحاديث هي في فضائل الأعمال في رجب أو فقط في فضائل رجب البتة؟
لا، في فضائل العمل في رجب، يعني لم يصح في الأعمال التي ذكر أنها خاصة برجب، ما يصح شيء، وسنأتي الآن على بعض هذه الأعمال.
جزاكم الله خير. So he mentioned that there are no, Al-Hafiz Ibn Hajar, he mentioned that there are no narrations that talk about the virtues of additional actions that are done during the month of Rajab. And he said that those narrations that have been related as relates to this month and additional actions, they are either weak or they are fabricated. So there are no authentic narrations as relates to the virtues of additional actions during this month.
من هذه الأحاديث ما يتناقله الناس عن أمر أو عن عمل يقال له صلاة الرغائب، صلاة الرغائب، ويروون فيها حديثا موضوعا عن أنس بن مالك رضي الله عنه عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم أنه قال: ما من أحد يصوم يوم الخميس، يعني أول خميس من رجب، ثم يصلي فيما بين العشاء والعتمة، يعني حين يشتد ظلمة الليل، يعني ليلة الجمعة، 12 ركعة، يقرأ في كل ركعة بفاتحة الكتاب مرة، وإن أنزلناه في ليلة القدر 3 مرات، وقل هو الله أحد 12 مرة، 12 مرة، يفصل بين كل ركعتين بتسليمة، فإذا فرغ من صلاته صلى علي 70، فيقول في سجوده 70 مرة: سبوح قدوس رب الملائكة والروح، ثم يرفع رأسه ويقول 70 مرة: رب اغفر وارحم وتجاوز عما تعلم إنك أنت العزيز الأعظم، ثم يسجد الثانية فيقول مثل ما قال في السجدة الأولى، ثم يسأل الله تعالى حاجته فإنها تقضى. قال الرسول صلى الله عليه وسلم: والذي نفسي بيده ما من عبد ولا أمة صلى هذه الصلاة إلا غفر الله له جميع ذنوبه ولو كانت مثل زبد البحر وعدد الرمل ووزن الجبال وورق الأشجار، ويشفع يوم القيامة في 700 من أهل بيتي ممن قد استوجبوا النار. هذا الحديث أخرجه الإمام الغزالي، أبو حامد الغزالي، في كتاب إحياء علوم الدين، وهو كتاب مليء بالأحاديث الموضوعة والضعيفة التي لا ترتقي حتى إلى الحسن ليعمل بها، وهذا الحديث من ضمنها، وسيأتي الكلام عليه من قبل أهل العلم. نعم.
So from the narrations that's been reported, reporting the virtues of additional actions during the month of Rajab, it's a very widespread narration on the authority of Anas. May Allah be pleased with him, but it's a narration that is fabricated. So it's a narration that isn't correct, but it's claimed that that the individual can do a special specific prayer that's called the Salat al-Raghaib, and the Sheikh, he went in to explain the sequence of this prayer, the Salat al-Raghaib. شيخنا بداية الحديث
نعيدها جملة. أن أنس قال عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم أنه قال: ما من أحد يصوم يوم الخميس، يعني أول خميس من رجب.
So it's clear. So the narration goes that none fast on the day of Thursday, i.e. the first Thursday of the month of Rajab.
ثم يصلي فيما بين العشاء والعتمة، يعني ليلة الجمعة الأولى من رجب 12 ركعة.
And then they pray between Salat al-Maghrib and Salat
العشاء والعتمة، يعني إلى نصف الليل أو
no, they pray between Salat al-Isha and sort of midnight. Then so they're fasted the Thursday, and then after the Isha of the night of Jummah, the Isha of Thursday, between that and the midnight, then they pray this special prayer.
يقرأ في كل ركعة بفاتحة الكتاب مرة واحدة، وسورة إنا أنزلناه في ليلة القدر 3 مرات، وقل هو الله أحد 12 مرة، وذلك في كل ركعة.
And then they pray a prayer in every unit of the prayer, in every rak'ah, they recite Surah Al-Fatiha, the opening chapter, and then they recite the chapter of the pre-decree. So the chapter Inna Anzalnahu Fi Laylatul Qadr. They recite this 3 times, and then they recite the chapter Qul Huwallahu Ahad, the chapter of sincerity, 12 times. And they do this pattern in each unit of the prayer. So the opening once, the chapter of the pre-decree 3 times, and the chapter of sincerity 12 times.
قال يفصل بين كل ركعتين بتسليمة. نعم.
And then they break each 2 units up with the taslima, with the finishing of the prayer. So they pray this prayer 2 units at a time.
قال فإذا فرغ من صلاته صلى علي 70 يعني 70 مرة.
And then when they finish this prayer, then they send the salutations upon me, i.e. upon the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, 70 times.
فيقول في سجوده يعني وقت أن كان يصلي فيقول في سجوده 70 مرة سبوح قدوس رب الملائكة والروح، ثم يرفع رأسه يعني من السجود ويقول 70 مرة رب قل هذا أول ثم نأتي للآخر.
شيخنا ثم يسجد ويقول سبوح قدوس 70 مرة.
رب الملائكة والروح 70 مرة.
Yeah, and then they prostrate to Allah, and then they make an invocation, meaning may Allah be glorified, and may he be lifted up. Subuhun Quddusun, Rabbul Malaikati wal Ruh, the Lord of the angels and the Lord of the Spirit, the angel Gabriel. And they say this 70 times.
ثم يقول رب اغفر وارحم وتجاوز عما تعلم. نعم.
And then they say another supplication, oh my Lord, forgive me and have mercy upon me. رب اغفر لي وارحم
وتجاوز عما تعلم.
And leave and pardon me everything that I have done.
إنك أنت العزيز الأعظم.
Indeed, you are the Almighty, the greatest.
يقول هذا 70 مرة.
And they say this invocation again 70 times.
ثم يكرر ذلك في السجدات.
And then they carry on doing this throughout prostrations.
فإذا انتهى من صلاته قال دعا سأل الله بحاجته ما يريد.
And then when they finish from all of this, then they pray to Allah and they supplicate to him and they ask him that which they wish.
قال صلى الله عليه وسلم كما في الحديث هذا الموضوع نعم والذي نفسي بيده ما من عبد ولا أمة صلى هذه الصلاة إلا غفر الله له جميع ذنوبه.
And then it's claimed, because don't forget, this is a narration that's fabricated. It's not authentic, and the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, didn't legislate this, but it's claimed that the Prophet then said, by he in whose hand my soul is, none pray this prayer except that their sins will be forgiven.
قال ولو كانت مثل زبد البحر وعدد الرمل ووزن الجبال وورق الأشجار.
And then it was said to the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, and even if that individual's sins are the amount of scum that's on the ocean, or the number of grains of sand that are in the desert, or the number of the snow that's in the mountain, or even if it's a great extent.
قال ويشفع يوم القيامة في 700 من أهل بيتي ممن قد استوجب النار.
And the answer to that was the affirmative, yes. And it will intercede on 700 people from that people's household, who are those people who deserve the fire. This prayer will intercede on their behalf.
وهذه الوعود تدل على أن هذا الأمر ليس صحيحا، فإنه ليس من عادة النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم أن يذكر مثل هذه الأمور.
And these promises of these extensive rewards, these indicate that this isn't something that the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, said, because it wasn't from his mannerisms or his ways that he would talk about such rewards in such a manner.
نعم، هذا الحديث كما قلنا أخرجه الغزالي في إحياء علوم الدين، وهو كتاب مليء بالأحاديث الموضوعة، لأن الغزالي لم يكن من أهل الحديث، فلم يكن يدرك الضعيف من الصحيح من الموضوع، وكان يجمع كحاطب ليل.
And this narration, it's been reported in a very famous book, a book that I'll give the Arabic name and then I'll translate it. I'll give the Arabic name so you know it. It's Ihya Ulum ad-Din, the giving of life to the branches of knowledge of the faith, by Abu Hamid al-Ghazali. And this is a book really that it contains many narrations that are not authentic and many narrations that are fabricated. And this is because this individual, he wasn't from those people, the people of hadith, the people of the narration of the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him. Rather, his status was like the Hatibul Layl. It was like the person who woke up in the middle of the night and who cannot see anything, and they just grab onto anything and they don't know what it is. They don't know the status or what that thing is that they grab onto. This is like the status of Abu Hamid.
وقد قال شيخ الإسلام ابن تيمية في مجموع الفتاوى عن هذه الصلاة، قال: وأما صلاة الرغائب فلا أصل لها، بل هي محدثة فلا تستحب لا جماعة ولا فرادى. وقد ثبت في صحيح مسلم أن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم نهى أن تخص ليلة الجمعة بقيام أو يوم الجمعة بصيام.
And Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah, the famous scholar, he mentioned, as has been reported or as is noted in his book or in the collection of his verdicts, he mentions this prayer and he says, as for the prayer of the Raghaib, the prayer of those people who desire, I suppose that's how you can translate it, it's a prayer that has no basis. Rather, it is an innovation, and it's something that should not be done, neither in congregation nor an individual by themselves. And it's been reported in the authentic book, the authentic collection of narrations by Imam Muslim, that the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, he ordered the people not to specify the night of Jummah, the night of Friday in prayer, nor should they specify and single out the day of Friday in fasting.
قال رحمه الله: والأثر الذي ذكر فيها كذب موضوع باتفاق العلماء، ولم يذكره أحد من السلف والأئمة أصلا.
And he mentioned that the narration that has been mentioned about this prayer, it's a narration that is a lie and a fabrication by consensus of, or by the agreement of the scholars. And it was a narration that those pious early Muslims, they never used.
وهذا ذكره في الفتاوى في المجلد 23 في الصحيفة 132.
And this was mentioned in his collection of religious verdicts in volume number 23, page 132.
نعم. والأمر الثاني مما يشتهر في هذا الشهر هو أمر يفعله الناس يوم السابع أو ليلة 27 منه من رجب، وهو ما يدعى بأنه وقت حدوث الإسراء والمعراج الذي أسري فيه بالنبي صلى الله عليه وسلم من مكة إلى بيت المقدس وعرج به إلى السماء. نعم.
And the second thing that's been introduced, or that the people see as something that should be done in this month, is that which they do on the 27th night of this month, where the people say that this was the time where the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, ascended to the heavens, and where he made his night journey from Jerusalem to the seven heavens.
وقد ذكر ابن حجر العسقلاني في كتابه تبيين العجب فيما جاء في شهر رجب عن ابن دحية أنه قال: وذكر بعض القصاص أن الإسراء كان في رجب، قال: وذلك كذب.
And the scholar Ibn Hajar, he mentions in a book that he has, Tabiyin al-Ajab, it has a nice meaning in Arabic, the amazement in that which, or an explanation or clarification of the amazement as relates to that which has been reported about Rajab, that Ibn Dihya, it was mentioned to Ibn Dihya, وشيخنا Ibn Dihya أحد الصحابة.
لا 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 ليس من الصحابة. إنما هو من التابعين أو أتباع التابعين، من العلماء علماء السلف.
دحية الكلبي هو كان.
دحية الكلبي ذاك من الصحابة.
أي نعم لعلي نعم اشتبه علي. جزاكم الله خير. Ibn Dihya, who was one of the scholars, the early scholars of Islam, it was mentioned to him by some of the people who narrated stories. It was said to him that the night ascension of the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, was in Rajab, and he said no, he denied that this was the case.
نعم. هو دحية عفوا ابن دحية هو الكلبي، لكنه ليس صحابيا، وإنما هو عمر بن حسن الكلبي، وكنيته أبو الخطاب، ويعرف بابن دحية. هو عمر بن حسن ابن دحية الكلبي منسوب إلى جده. على كل حال هو من ليس من الصحابة، وإنما هو من التابعين أو أتباع التابعين، هكذا فيما يحضرني. نعم.
جزاكم الله خير شيخنا.
نعم. ثم أيضا قال الشيخ ابن باز رحمه الله تعالى في الفتاوى: والاحتفال بليلة 27 اعتقادا أنها ليلة الإسراء والمعراج كل ذلك بدعة لا أصل له في الشرع، وليلة الإسراء والمعراج لم تعلم عينها، ولو علمت لم يجوز الاحتفال بها، لأن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم لم يحتفل بها، وهكذا خلفاؤه الراشدون وبقية أصحابه رضوان الله عليهم، ولو كان ذلك سنة وخير لسبقونا إليها. نعم.
And it was also mentioned in the religious verdicts of Sheikh Ibn Baz, may Allah have mercy upon him. He mentioned the celebration that people make on the 27th night of Rajab is an innovation that has no basis. And it's not known that it was something that was done at the time of the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, nor his rightly guided caliphs, nor the companions of the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him. And indeed, had this been something good and something commendable, they would have preceded us in doing it.
ومما يشيع أيضا ويشتهر في هذا الشهر عند العوام الذبح في رجب، مع أن الذبح المطلق، الذبح إرادة الذبح ل يعني أكل اللحم أو بيع اللحم لا حرج فيه، أو الذبح لوليمة أو عقيقة أو لضيف لا حرج فيه، لكن تخصيص رجب للذبح، فيذبحون في رجب من أجل رجب، فإن هذا محرم ولا يجوز لأنه بدعة. وقد جاء عند أبي داود والنسائي وابن ماجه بسند صححه الحاكم وابن المنذر عن نبيشة أنه قال نادى رجل رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم، نبيشة صحابي، أنه قال نادى رجل رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم فقال إنا كنا نعتر عتيرة في الجاهلية، أي نذبح ذبيحة في الجاهلية في رجب، فما تأمرنا؟ قال اذبحوا في أي شهر كان، يعني لا تخصوا رجب. ولهذا قال الحافظ ابن حجر في كتابه قال فلم يبطل الرسول صلى الله عليه وسلم العتيرة من أصلها، وإنما أبطل خصوص الذبح في شهر رجب، إنما أبطل خصوص الذبح في شهر رجب. نعم.
Assalamu alaikum.
سلام.
On the scene where Akil went, I think maybe his battery died because it just come off. So I'm just checking now to see what has actually happened to him. If he's had a bit of trouble, would you mind? Okay, he's coming now.
Okay,
but Jazakallah khairan, Sheikh, for the reminder as well as just preparing people for Ramadan. As you know,
we should continue inshallah next week. Huh?
We can, yes, I just wanted to see if you can finish off translating the last part, and then we can call it a day after that. Or if it's late, if it's possible, I don't if you want to
do it earlier.
You want to what, sorry?
We can do it someday, another day, before next Sunday, because next Sunday is going to be Shaban. Anyway.
Okay, well, it's here now, so shall we just get him to finish off then? He's just joined us.
But we still have some more to. Okay, no problem. We're gonna conclude now.
Inshallah. Akil, you want to unmute? Okay, here we go.
Apologies, sorry, I've been having some technical issues. عفوا معذرة شيخنا.
الآن نريد أن نلخص لأن الوقت ضاق بنا وما نستطيع أن نؤجل الأسبوع القادم لأنه يكون شعبان. طيب، نقول من أيضا البدع ذبيحة تذبح في رجب وتخصيصها برجب، وهذا أمر أبطله النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم كما ذكر ابن حجر. نعم.
So we really need to finish this because the matters relating to this month of Rajab, they'll be finished because this time next week it will no longer be this month. So we will summarize some of the points. The next thing that is not prescribed during this month of Rajab is the slaughtering. The people slaughter specifically due to the fact that it's the month of Rajab.
ولا يجوز تخصيص رجب بالصيام. كان عمر رضي الله عنه يضرب أكف المترجبين، يعني الذين يصومون في رجب خصوصا، حتى يضعوها في الطعام ويقول كلوا فإنما هو شهر كانت تعظمه الجاهلية. صححه الألباني في إرواء الغليل.
And also the people who used to fasting specifically due to the reason or due to the fact that it's the month of Rajab, this is something that is not legislated. And it's been reported that Omar, may Allah have mercy upon him, he used to beat those people who used to single Rajab out in as a time of excellence or virtue to fast. And this has been authenticated by Sheikh Al-Albani in his book Irwa al-Ghalil, the quenching of the thirst.
وكذلك ليس من السنة ما يفعله البعض بتخصيص رجب بعمرة. قد قال أهل العلم أن هذا التخصيص بدعة، أن هذا التخصيص بدعة. وقد جاء عن عائشة رضي الله عنها أنها قالت كما في صحيح البخاري: وما اعتمر أي النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم في رجب قط، ما اعتمر في رجب قط. نعم.
And also, it's not from the Sunnah, from the example of the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, to specify Rajab as a month in which to perform the Umrah, the lesser pilgrimage. This is an innovation, and it's been reported on the authority of Aisha, the wife of the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, may Allah be pleased with her, who said that the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, he never made the lesser pilgrimage during the month of Rajab. It's something that he never did.
وأيضا ليس من السنة تخصيص رجب لإخراج الزكاة كما ذكر ابن العطار رحمه الله، قال: وما يفعله الناس في هذه الأزمان من إخراج زكاة أموال في رجب دون غيره من الأزمان لا أصل له.
And also the scholar of Al-Islam, Ibn Attar, he mentioned that the giving of zakah, especially during the month of Rajab, during this month, is something that is not legislated and is an innovation.
وأخيرا ذكر ابن رجب الحنبلي في كتابه لطائف المعارف الصفحة 233 قال: وقد روي أنه كان في شهر رجب حوادث عظيمة ولم يصح شيء من ذلك، فروي أن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم ولد في أول ليلة منه، وأنه بعث في 27 منه، وقيل في 25 منه، ولا يصح شيء من ذلك. نعم، والله أعلم.
And it's been mentioned by the scholar of Islam, Ibn Rajab, in his book Lata'if al-Ma'arif. This is a book that deals with special days and special occasions and the virtues of these days and occasions. So he mentions in this book, in page 233, that many great events have been reported or purported to have taken place during the month of Rajab. None of those are authentic. This is Ibn Rajab who is saying this. And he said, it's been reported or said that the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, was born on the first day of Rajab. This is not authentic. It's been said that he was sent as a messenger and as a prophet on the 27th night or the 27th day of it. And this is not authentic. And it's also been said on the 25th day of Rajab. And this again is not authentic. None of these are authentic.
وعلى المسلم أن يتحرى السنة من طرقها الصحيحة ويتمسك بها لينجو يوم القيامة ويبتعد عن البدع فإنها تهدم الدين ويكون بذلك من الآثمين. نسأل الله العافية والسلامة، والله أعلم، وصلى الله على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه.
جزاكم الله خير وبارك فيكم شيخنا. And this is what we have to put forward, and we remind the Muslims that it's upon them to follow the example of the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, and that they should be warned against innovations in the religion, because these innovations, they destroy the religion and they bring it, or they contaminate it, and also these innovations bring about the downfall of the individual. And Allah knows best, and may Allah shower peace, mercies and salutations upon the Prophet Muhammad and upon his family and companions to the day of resurrection.
Jazakallah, Sheikh. Jazakallah. We have, I don't know if we've got enough time, but we have just 2 questions.
No problem.
If you want to, I'll put it on your message, Akil. You can see it. Direct message, your DM.
Yeah, okay. Sheikhana, so the first question is, Sheikh, what's the ruling on the addition, إِنَّكَ لَا تُخْلِفُ الْمِيعَادِ? This is an addition in the dua, the supplication, after the person hears the adhan. شيخنا بارك الله فيكم، ما حكم زيادة إنك لا تخلف الميعاد بعد دعاء الأذان؟ بارك الله فيكم.
الجواب عن هذا نقول من علمنا دعاء الأذان؟ أليس هو النبي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم؟ والنبي صلى الله عليه وسلم علمنا الدعاء ولم يذكر فيه هذه الجملة، فلا يجوز الزيادة على ما علمنا النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. ويدل على ذلك حديث البراء بن عازب رضي الله عنه لما علمه النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم ذكر النوم، وفيه آمنت بكتابك الذي أنزلت وبنبيك الذي أرسلت، ثم أمره أن يعيد، فلما أعاد البراء قال آمنت بكتابك الذي أنزلت وبرسولك الذي أرسلت بدل بنبيك، فضرب النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم على صدره، على صدر البراء، وقال وبنبيك الذي أرسلت، يعني لا تغير، مع أن نبي ورسول في المعنى واحد، والرسول يعني أعم من النبي، لكن مع ذلك النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم أمره أن لا يغير، فلا يجوز لنا أن نزيد ولا ننقص ولا نبدل لفظة محل لفظة فيما ورد عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم من أذكار أو أدعية أو عبادات عملية، لا يجوز أن نغير، بل نأخذها كما جاءتنا. نعم. ومنها هذا الدعاء لا يجوز أن نزيد، وإن كان الله لا يخلف الميعاد كما في القرآن، لكن لا يجوز أن نزيدها. نعم.
بارك الله فيكم وجزاكم الله خير شيخنا. So in response to this question, we ask, who is it who instructed us or taught us this supplication? It was a prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, without any doubt. And when he taught us this supplication, it did not have this additional wording. Indeed, إِنَّكَ لَا تُخْلِفُ الْمِيعَادِ, meaning indeed you do not go against that which you have promised, or the promise, something like this. So this addition, it hasn't been reported. And we see in another narration on the authority of Bara ibn Azib, where the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, he taught him some of the supplications and some of the remembrances before sleeping. And he taught him to say, indeed, I have believed in the book that you sent, meaning, oh Allah, I've believed in you and the book that you have sent, and the prophet that you have sent. And when Al-Bara repeated this after the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, told him it, he said, I have believed in, oh Allah, in you and the book that you have sent, and I have believed in the messenger that you have sent. Here he changed the wording. The Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, taught him the wording, the prophet that you sent, and he repeated, the messenger that you sent. And the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, corrected him, and he said, rather, the prophet that you have sent. So this shows us that we should pay particular attention to the wording that is contained within these supplications, that we such that we say them as they have been narrated, and we do not increase and we do not decrease upon them. And in this case, this is even though the case, the messenger and the prophet, there is some sort of relationship between them. It's still the fact that the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, corrected him. So it's not permissible for us to shift the wording of particular supplications or to indeed change them. And we say all of this while we do believe as Muslims that indeed Allah does not go against that which He's promised. We believe in the meaning of this addition, but we do not add it to the supplication after the call to prayer due to it not having been reported upon the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him. بارك الله فيكم شيخنا.
فيكم بارك الله وحفظكم ومتعكم بالصحة والعافية والسلامة أنتم وجميع الإخوة، حفظنا الله وإياكم.
شيخنا هناك سؤال باقي وفقط لعله بسيط جدا. جزاكم الله خير وبارك فيكم شيخنا. هل يصح أن لا أنا نعم على كل حال هل يصح أن جميع النبيين نبئوا بعد 40 سنة؟
نعم هذا جاء فيه أثر صحيح أن الأنبياء نبئوا على رأس 40 سنة إلا عيسى بن مريم. عيسى بن مريم نبئ في أقل من ذلك. هو يعني قبض رفع إلى السماء وهو ابن 33 فيما يحضرني، لكن بقية الأنبياء هكذا جاء، لكن لا يحضرني الآن مدى صحة الأثر.
بارك الله فيكم. Yes, this is so the question is it true that all prophets achieved the state of prophethood after 40 years? So the Sheikh said that this has been reported in a narration that all of the prophets achieved the revelation at the age of 40, except for Isa. May Allah have mercy, and may Allah be pleased with him and shower blessings upon him, because he received the revelation and he was raised to Allah at an earlier age than that, in his 30s at some point like this. However, I do not recall now whether this narration is authentic or not. جزاكم الله خير شيخنا وبارك فيكم.
Well, we'll continue again with the preparation for Ramadan up until the month of Ramadan, inshallah. And then, inshallah, we'll continue with the Quran classes and the Hour of Power, which we do every Ramadan, inshallah, where there's lectures and Quran every day, inshallah. So, Jazakallah, Sheikh, Jazakallah, Akil, and Tom, thank you very much. And we'll see each other again, inshallah, next week. Jazakallah.
Thank you, Tom. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Assalamu alaikum.
ورحمة الله وبركاته.